How can we understand the unity between his transcendence and between his immanence? Between, to use a Kabbalistical expression, Hashem, who is Sovev Kol Almin, who surrounds the universe, who is, in the words of the sages, Mekomo Shel Olam, V'lo HaOlam Mekomo, whose being is beyond the time-space universe. And at the same time, he is within the universe. This is the concept of creation, which is not just that God at one time created the world, but that he is constantly recreating all existence, and not a creator in the human sense who is given a substance and then gives it a form, but God, as the cause of all existence, is also the cause of all substance. And at every moment, Mechadesh b'tovo b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishis. Baruch oseh v'reishis. At every moment, Hashem recreates. And this can explain to us the significance of our concept of God. There have been, in the course of history, basically two approaches towards understanding the source of the material universe. Anyone, be it men of religion or men of logic and philosophy, has had to assume that there is more in the world than matter alone. That there is something that joins together and that causes the motion that exists within matter. And there have been basically two approaches. Either there's been an approach of deism, and the acceptance of God's existence as separate from matter, that matter has its own power, and God, who is spirit, has a separate power. And this has been responsible for dualistic manners of worship and also dualistic approaches to life. Or they have developed in the course of history forms of pantheism, be it the worship of nature or animism, or philosophies that have identified nature with God and have said that spirit and matter are one. Both these points of view are a half-truth, but they're not the whole truth, and therein lies their falsity. Whilst the Jewish concept of God, as represented in the Talmud and in the Bible and the Talmud, is creationism, which understands that it's true. Deism takes hold of the transcendence of God without accepting the immanence. Pantheism accepts the immanence without the transcendence. And therefore God shows himself in the unity that exists through constant acts of creativity of his transcendent aspect, which is infinite, and his immanent aspect, which lies within all that is. And therefore, by going to the root of all aspects of life, one can find God. The manifold ways which man has attempted to find reality and truth can also lead us to know of God's existence. Rav Moshe ben Maimon begins his magnum opus, the Mishneh Torah, with the following words: the fundament of all fundamentals and the pillar of the sciences is to know that there is a prime being who causes all things to exist, all beings only exist through the truth of his existence. If it could be thought that he does not exist, nothing else can exist. And if it could be thought that nothing apart from him exists, he alone will exist. All beings are dependent upon and relative to him, but he is not dependent upon them. Therefore the truth of his existence is not like the truth of any other being. The prophet says, God is truth. For only he is absolute truth, all else is relative truth. The same thought is expressed in the Chumash, there is none else besides him, which means there is no existence that has the same absolute truth that he has. It is best for us today to understand this concept as being an existential approach to the knowledge of God's existence. In all spheres of life, of knowledge, experience, and activity, there are a priori assumptions, axioms, which in themselves cannot be proven. Bertrand Russell writes, all scientific knowledge must be built upon intuitive beliefs. Richardson says faith principles are the foundation of all philosophies. For every system of thought is based upon one or another assumption which is taken as certain, upon the basis of which that system of thought or of knowledge or of experience is built. Also with human behavior. Whenever a person makes a decision, and all human beings keep on making decisions, they are opting for one or another point of view. They are making decisions. This concept that the ultimate source of knowledge is accepting something or other as a basic existence lies at the root of the present-day existential trend within thought. And there are two groups amongst the existentialists. Some say that man who finds himself and everything around him to have only relative truth, to have only a doubtful existence, and finds nothing certain, is forced to go beyond his experience, is forced to go beyond himself to find truth in transcendence, which means in God, in the way that we have described him. This accounts for the point of view adopted by Marcel Kierkegaard and other, also Jewish existentialists, as Rosenzweig and Buber. There are also others who say that since we know that there is no certainty within human experience, then don't go outside human experience, accept this aspect of the relativity of man and his uncertainty, make that into an absolute, and build your life only upon relativism, upon meaninglessness. That's also an option open to man. Either he regards everything as being meaningless and relative. This is the point of view adopted by Sartre and many, not only philosophers, but ordinary human beings have been influenced by this relativistic approach towards truth and reality. Or a person can make a choice and leap into faith, go beyond man and there find the root of existence.